Morning, folks. Welcome to the Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. Exciting program for you today. We're going to do a little true crime. We don't do a lot of true crime on this program, all right? But there has been a big true crime story that has taken over the nation. People are talking about the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. And what I like most about this is the supreme mental health on display from the entire country, who has watched a very uniquely horrendous tragedy occur to a family and said, it's time for me to get involved. It's time for me to get involved and make this about myself, because that's what this tragedy needs, is a little bit more me. I got to get in there. I have seen people turn this into a battle of the sexes thing. I have seen people turn this into a mental health thing. I have seen a lot of people turn this into a chance to be their very own detective. Okay, because when there is a horrible tragedy, in this case one involving a mother of three who is suffering from postpartum psychosis, not postpartum depression. It's a different thing, a more common thing. Postpartum psychosis does happen. Very, very extreme thing, though, in which she, according to her, said there was a male voice in her head telling her this was her chance to kill her three children. So she's suffering from postpartum psychosis, allegedly kills her three children with a workout band before jumping out the window herself, slitting her wrists, throat, jumping out window, and somehow doesn't die. Resilient. Get her a football helmet. Now, this horrible tragedy has gone on, and what we have decided to do as a country is turn it into one of our premier entertainment moments. I think this is important because I have long had a concern, broadly speaking, that when we turn something into entertainment, be it a tragedy, be it our entire political system, the way we discuss things, modern debate, the consuming of information, everything, our entire lives at this point, sex. The second we turn everything into entertainment, we treat it like entertainment. And we don't always treat entertainment well. Have you noticed that? So this is one thing I just caution to you, because I know that true crime is popular. People love true crime. It's not one of my things. But people love true crime, especially you whores. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to make this fun. Ladies do love a little true crime. They like tucking in bed, doing all sorts of stuff to their face. They like doing all sorts of stuff to their face and getting a blankie going. And maybe a glass of rosé. I don't know. Do people drink alcohol anymore? I have no idea. Maybe just some sort of serum for the face, and one of those like stone, like kind of like metalish rock thing. They just like that you can rub over the face, and then a mask, something like that. Tucking in and then watching just the most horrible things that have ever happened to people. But individual people, like things that have no bearing really on like history or like, and I'm not saying girls don't like history, I'm just saying true crime. Individual tragedies. Picking the worst things that have ever happened in society. Watching that as a self-care moment. It's interesting. But the problem is we're watching it like reality TV. It is reality and it is TV. So we watch it like reality TV. And how do we watch reality TV? We watch it like cunts. Collectively. And myself included. If I am watching reality TV, I am cunting it up like a big-mouthed, nasty slut. That's how I don't watch it much, but when I do, I have thoughts. And none of them are nice. I say horrible things about everyone involved. And I develop my own theories because I'm having fun, because my brain knows it's entertainment. It's entertainment. So now what we have is a objectively horrible tragedy with very, very young victims, and the person on trial is while allegedly a perpetrator, a victim herself, because as we are to believe, she's been struggling with this. There are texts to her mom where she talks about struggling, wanting to help. She checked herself into care facilities. This was like a real thing. And so all this is happening. She's kind of like, if someone's dealing with a mental illness, they can go from being the perpetrator to the victim themselves, a victim. Obviously not as much as the kids, the real victims, right? But if we're going to watch it like a show, we're going to need a few more characters. Enter the husband, Patrick. Now, this gentleman has probably gone through the worst thing that will ever happen to him, as well as 99.9% of society. He's gone through one of the worst possible things. But it's time for those of us who watch YouTube video breakdowns to turn him into a character. We got to turn this guy into a character, because maybe he done it. Maybe he done it. And they're just blaming the woman once again. They're blaming the fucking woman, dude. They're blaming the woman who just had a little postpartum depression. That's what some people are saying. Now, there's very little faith in the legal system, in many of the systems in our country. And a lot of that is for good reason. They fail us at times, many times. There's examples of this. But I feel and I fear that in the process of expressing our discontent with some of the systems that we have built to run our imperfect society, we are getting rid of any of the barriers of proof or legitimacy that those things had. We do it with courtroom trials, true crime. They're all corrupt. I know the answer because I watched a video. That video was incentivized to have a narrative, to be entertainment, because that's what we're watching. Oh, the government is imperfect, therefore we should just let someone like Elon Musk go in and actually break way more things than he fixed. You can read about this now that the information is coming out from DOGE. If you don't agree with me, you're like, this guy's being a fucking libtard. I swear to God, read about it. There are people inside this, of all administrations, who will tell you how fucking poorly it all went, including Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, who's like, what the fuck is Elon doing? He's an idiot. He's breaking everything. He's an idiot. But we have this knee-jerk reaction that is driven by our online experience, where not only do we not trust things, sometimes things as laid out just don't give us the juice we need when we're trying to be entertained, which everything is. So, now what we have is a situation where we got to look into the husband. Now, and I did, and I've watched some of and you know what? Some of the timeline stuff is a little bit weird. So there's like a missing 15 minutes in his report. It appears like he changed shoes in between a CVS and a dinner food place. But if you listen to people who are in the courtroom, who have access to things that we don't because they're not sharing them, like the 911 call that will tell you the screams and the sounds of a man breaking upon realizing what's happened to his children, it just kind of gets a little bit less fun to be an online detective when you consider the possibility that this horrendous tragedy has nothing to do with you, your identity, or your ability to be the number one detective based on videos that are incentivized to be salacious while they sell you ads for online gambling companies. It's a possibility that I just want people to consider. Now, if you've been up on this case and you've been paying attention, there are a couple things that you might say. There's the conversation around like her body temperature, meaning she would have had to have been outside for a certain period of time, but that period of time doesn't align with the fact they tried to resuscitate one of the children, which means it would have been quicker. I guess the idea is that like she tried to off herself, so he was like, well, if she's out, might as well knock out the kids and then daddy's single. Like, I guess that's the idea. Now, the thing is, and I am urging everybody to be an adult here and not be shitty to people who are going through horrible things, because the online discourse, when we all take part in the media mobs that engage in the destruction of sometimes innocent people's lives, it's, I think, probably something that sticks on your soul as well. So we all have to be good people. But again, I did a little bit of research, and there's one thing that I couldn't quite not discuss, which is the idea that 20 days after the funeral for his children, Patrick Clancy was hiking in Costa Rica and left a 5-star review about an amazing waterfall. Now, some sleuths are saying that I think he is accused of having is now with another lady who kind of looked like Lindsay, and they had an affair at the time, and they've been to Costa Rica a couple times since, and so this whole like Costa Rica thing. Personally, I want to focus on the choice to review a waterfall, because this is sociopathic behavior in a certain way, and we will read the review. The Mannequin Waterfalls Nature Reserve. The hike was amazing. It is short, but lots of stairs. You will be dripping sweat. I'm not sure about the $17. I was the only one there with no one else in sight. There's also 0 cell service. Now, for someone, look, I would imagine it's not uncommon for a murderer to give something 5 stars with the review, I was the only one there with no one else in sight. There's also 0 cell service. That is the 5-star review of a murderer. I'm not going to say that because again, the beginning of this episode is me talking about how we really need to be human and maybe not drag people who have been through horrendous things through the mud. So to engage in it a little bit is not ideal, but we do have to, if you're going to leave reviews, they have to be discussed. They have to be discussed, which does bring me to some of the reviews that I discovered an old profile with some old reviews. And because I had forgot that I was a review person myself, and so I need to be fair, and I have to be fair by viewing my reviews. Now, the best reviews are not the 5-star reviews; they're the 1-star reviews. That's where reviews get interesting, and I don't like to leave 1-star reviews. I am big on not snitching on local businesses. I think it's important to make sure that we are supportive of small businesses in a world that they are constantly getting eaten up by larger chains that feel further and further disconnected from reality and the human experience that we value. And then we wonder why life feels hollow after removing all of the humanity from it. Well, this is, of course, why. But I have left some 1-star reviews. This one, I recall, was after a particularly rude night. This is a tough one, 1 star. I'm not going to name the place. This is a tough one because this has been, I call these screeds, okay? Again, I don't leave a lot of screeds, but if I'm off a couple drinks and I feel deeply wronged, I'm going to leave a screed. This is a tough one because this has been my favorite burger spot in SF for a long time, but the 2 guys working here tonight made it such an awful experience, we were forced to leave. I know it's hard. This is how reasonable I am. I know it's hard dealing with late night customers, but the malicious way they dealt with 3 different groups of people had to make us walk out. One person even tried to give back money, saying he was wrong when he asked for more change. And they told him that if he was going to get cute about it, he should just leave. He had no attitude at all. Pretty ridiculous for someone trying to do the right thing. See, I'm sticking up for the small. I'm the Robin Hood of restaurant. I'm sticking up for someone else. I didn't even need to. but I saw someone getting wronged, and I stood up. The burger is solid, but it's a basic burger. It can't overcome creating a hostile environment and using bottom-of-the-barrel ingredients. Daddy didn't like that one. Daddy didn't like that one at all. Okay. This was one of my favorite places to hang out, but they ruined it. This is from a bar. Name of bar went from one of the few and unique outdoor nightlife locations in insert city to a needlessly you must reserve a table sterile nightmare that flies in the face of anything it once was. I hope they remember the fun they used to provide. If not, I hope they enjoy trying to claw back revenue one Karen-fed glass of Chardonnay at a time. Damn, I was pissed. But he was happy. He enjoyed his waterfall, and he wanted to share that. Look, I think everyone would get uncomfortable if people went through every single aspect of their digital and personal lives. And it is true. I've seen people commenting to this effect. Other people have gone through grief and taken vacations after because they needed to get out of the house, the town that they were in. Not feeling guilty, not running from something, just doing what you would usually do, going on a trip, taking a hike, reviewing it because you would use those reviews to find the hike yourself. I don't think it necessarily means he killed his kids, and I think we need to just try a little bit to slow down with the things that we immediately jump to, because it makes it easy for us to get fed bullshit by other people. Okay, let's do some tour dates here real quick, folks. Go on over to joeyavery.com. Houston, Brea, Tempe, Alpharetta, New Orleans, Mobile, Edmonton, St. Pete, Charlotte, Detroit, Brookfield, Denver, what? All right, my manager posted the wrong dates on my website, but Denver, Los Angeles, and San Diego, folks, come on out to a show. All right, folks, now what is the point of doing the whole true crime thing and talking about the case? What I want to talk about is the narratives that take hold in our society today, and how careful you need to get in a world where it's really easy to just see shit a million places and then run with it and go, you know what I heard, you know what I saw? Because the shit you're going to see a lot of times is bullshit, but it's the most interesting. There's a few different examples of this, some fun, some not so fun. Trump, of course, does it all the time. He was wandering around bragging to reporters with a printed out article that he had in his hand about how prescription drug prices had seen one of their sharpest drops in a very long time. And it was under him. And so he's talking about, well, the fake news media, they won't tell you about this, but under Trump, and I told you this was going to happen, prescription drug prices, they dropped so much. And he was bragging about it. He's holding an article. He has the article in his hand. And he's telling people about it so that they can pay attention to it, so that Fox can use the clip, so that all the conservative ecosystem can grab the clip and run with it and say, hey, look at this. This is something. I know that your life has gotten more expensive because of a war that nobody really wants, but also prescription drug prices are down and no one's going to give him credit for it because it's Trump and he doesn't get credit. And that's the narrative and that's what they want to tell you. And a lot of people have been saying that, except for the fact that none of these people have read the fucking article. Because in the article that he is holding in his hands, that he is not capable of reading to completion, it says that the reason they dropped and became one of the outliers of affordability in a sea of not is from Biden-era policies. And that's in the article that he's holding in his hand. And most people will not actually read it. This is a problem. It's why we have to be thorough. It's why we have to do our due diligence. There's another story. Trump administration advances plan to rescind protections for nearly 45 million wild acres. He is taking back a lot of the public lands that were guaranteed to us from previous presidents that a lot of people enjoy, that protect them from becoming just mined or logged or, benefits to the corporations, but not the escape that they have often provided to people or the wilderness they provide to animals that help balance our ecosystem. We are getting rid of those things. And what they are saying, the narrative they are spinning, is that we're going to let people build roads through them to allow for logging because this will allow for more effective wildlife management, which will lead to fewer forest fires. This, again, can sound good if you are uninterested in paying attention to any of the underlying data, because if you read the entire article, which no one reads, they go on to tell you that every single service and scientist that has studied it will tell you that roads will actually lead to more forest fires because most forest fires are man-made. Almost all of them are man-made. Now, this is interesting news because I think sometimes we see forest fires and everyone's like, the world is burning because it's so hot. Sure, but also a lot of times people being stupid. These are important things to know. But there's been this movement. Okay, there's been this, because the concept of the deep state has gotten so powerful. It's been conflated with a lot of things. People think of the deep state and they go, oh, well, there's a shadow government actually running our government that is tied in with the military-industrial complex, that is tied in with maybe foreign, which is tied in with maybe Epstein, that's tied in with it. This is what people think about. And there are some shadowy elements of that it's like, ooh, this is kind of concerning. But also what people are using it to do is just besmirch any nameless, faceless expert. Anyone who has any level of expertise or studying things or is trotting out a view that is viewed as unhelpful to the goal of whichever team is wielding more powerful, if you just say fucking deep state, then people be like, get rid of them, fire them. Get rid of all of them. Well, is it the deep state who's trying to like come up with a cure for cancer? Who's doing research on things? Is it the deep state? Like, why did Trump got rid of a bunch of ocean monitoring systems that were out there because he's like, that must be like DEI. Like, monitoring the ocean must be the queer, trans, gay, black agenda. It's like, no, it's actually helpful to know when hurricanes are coming or whatever the fuck they use it for. Why are we not monitoring the ocean? Because it's going to say stuff that could be anti-business. So this is kind of, this is where it all goes for me. And there's again, so we did true crime, we've done politics, there's a million examples of this. There's also sports. Now, everyone who listens to the show knows I'm a Bay Area guy, I'm a 49ers fan. Everyone's talking about the Substation. Everyone's talking about the Substation because the Niners are hurt all the time, and some fucking dork pulled up and he was like, I measured the Substation and it degrades tissue over time, and that's why the Niners are the most injured team in the league. And everyone's like, holy fucking shit, of course. Look at it, dude. It looks like some shit out of Lord of the Rings or like Mount Doom. It's just bzz, bzz. And our beautiful, delicate ball players are running next to it, and their Achilles and knees are snapping left and right. And it feels right. And it's funny. And it's a meme. And you just see the fucking Substation memes, okay? Because the 49ers practice next to this electrical substation. And this one guy said it. And it took root. And if you listen to him talk out loud for 10 minutes, you would realize he's not smart, really. I mean, he studies certain things, but you can just tell he's just like a weird guy. And so they've had scientists dig into it. Pablo Torre did a whole thing on it, and they actually had some scientists look into it, and they covered everything from the amount of like, you know, radiation or whatever's coming off of it to find out if that could be detrimental to human life and health. Regardless, they looked at people who worked on substations for long periods of time compared to people who worked other places. They checked in on the whether or not it degrades tissue and also the levels at which it would. And they also even ran checks on the 49ers team and if they actually were more injured than every other team. And every single part of it was wrong. Every part of it was wrong. The data was incorrect that the Niners are the most injured team. They're not. The data was it kind of feels like it, but they're not. The data was incorrect that it shows provably that it does degrade soft tissue. There's some data that actually said it can improve it. So it's just unclear at best. You go through the entire thing, but that's not a good tweet. None of it is sexy. None of it is good. None of it drives a narrative. So even me, as a fan of football, I'm like thinking about like, well, it's us versus the Substation once again, even though I know it's not true. And the team might literally have to move their facilities just because free agents are, a lot of them, fucking dumb. And you need dumb guys on your team. It's important. There's a lot of very dumb people that are really good at football, and you're gonna need them on your squad. And if they're afraid of the electricity, then you're just gonna have to move. Because this is actually, I think, where we are in society now is if something is said that is crazy enough, people will just be like, directionally that feels right, so let's go with it. As we become stupider and stupider, less educated, you can look at the numbers, less interested in being educated, it is going to be important to speak directly to and in the language of the mentally impaired. And this is something I think you can practice. And this is something that I want. I'm just, look, it brings me no joy to report this. But listeners to this show, members of the 12, you have a position in society. You are better than people. You are smarter than people. And you will have to shepherd them. And you will have to teach them the ways of the unstupid. But you have to start by being stupid. You do. This is what the left and the Democrats have really had a hard time understanding, is they've tried to lecture people. They've tried to beat them over the head, sometimes with statistics and sometimes with bullshit. You look at the Fauci diaries and him saying he was the science and everything, COVID really did a number on him. So much so that people were like, okay, I guess fuck all science. Like, let's be real. He did a bad job and he lied about it. He lied about the source of it. He lied about the masks. He thought, I can just tell people what I think is best and then we'll get there and I'll be on magazines and shit. He did bad. He did bad. And a lot of the people on the left were very late to understanding that. Okay. But the problem is, what that has ushered in is a brand new era where people are like, exactly. So RFK Jr. understands science. Well, no. Exactly. So every vaccine is bad. You guys were wrong about COVID. So let's get our child mortality back up because every vaccine is bad. Well, there was this whole turn on just everything because it was like, I think the left got a little cocky and they started talking down to people. And that's when, and even the policing of language, and people were like, you know what? Fuck you. Like the right was like, you know what? You guys are being fucking gay. And the left was like, you can't say that. And the right was like, well, you are gay. And it's my right to say it. And so the right, I think, decided that the entire left was gay, not realizing that they are all retarded. And I'm going to use the language that has become legal in the era that we've gotten rid of everything else because there was such a backlash. I think that's what's happened. And so it's just become like, okay, everything I think and feel is right, and everything that is backed up by like numbers or like science is gay, is wrong. And we need freedom. We need the freedom to move to Texas where we can finally be free. Where having a gram of weed on you is now somehow punishable by death. Have you seen this? Texas just like made weed illegal. Okay, good freedom. Enjoy. Good freedom you got going. I'm going to Houston this weekend. Will not be smoking weed. What? Insane. So I think it's reached a point where you just have to understand that you can't go to someone who's saying something that's objectively stupid and tell them they're stupid. You have to teach them they're stupid. You teach a man to fish. Okay? You have to use their language, because otherwise it will not be understood. People have gone too far down the path. You have to go, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe vaccines are making everyone's kid autistic. Hey, doesn't your neighbor have measles? Hey, have we actually looked into the tracking of autism? Have we actually checked any of the, because none of the science adds up. It's the substation. But if you want to believe the substation, you're always going to, and it will always work in conversation, because conversation a lot of times is two people who don't want to be embarrassed saying the dumbest thing to one another to connect. And that's what it is. I was just at like a shoot, and there's just like so many of us there, and we're all sitting there and no one really knows each other. And so it's just like, let's say the dumbest possible thing we can. And it's good. And there's no shortage of that. There's no shortage of that. It's a beautiful time online for all of it. Let's move into another topic here, because we got Lindsey Graham's sister is running for office. And like, these are the people that I think we need to elect. This is the type of stuff that we need more of in government.
On the national security question as well, Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, so... But I do support the military.
Yeah, there it is. This is, of course, Trump endorsed this candidate. This is who we need. This is who we need running the country. I think people, when we got into an elected, when we got into a democracy or a republic, as it were, and we decided to elect representatives that are supposed to speak on behalf of the people, there was a period of time where people got really lost in this concept of picking people who knew anything about the world. People who had read a book, people who had seen a map. And people just got sick of that. People got sick of politicians pretending to be better than them by knowing things. So now what we need is the sister of the closeted gay and dead senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, who was more interested in Israel than the United States, and sucked Bibi Netanyahu off metaphorically, but we don't know. We don't know. All sorts of videos of people coming out. It looks like Lindsey Graham was getting bottomed by, trans and gay and all sorts of prostitutes and sex workers and people who I'm sure would have kept it quiet if he wasn't so mean to them. But that's her qualification, is she's related to one of the worst senators we've ever had. And she supports the troops. She doesn't really know about China, Taiwan, or the South China Sea. And actually, oddly enough, its connection to some of the technology that our troops utilize to fire rockets and things like that, and the stockpiles that we're actually depleting because of people who are allowing the war in Iran to go on. Things that she would, of course, have a vote on. But she's just not into that. And I think it is refreshing to just have a politician go, yeah, politics aren't my thing. I kind of just want to do this to do it. It seems like it would be cool to wake up and just be a senator. Like, I do think I would like that. I do think I would like to just wake up one day and like walk in and be like, I am a senator. That's kind of sick. Little ego boost, little clout for the kid, huh? That would be nice. And then it's like the next day, it's like, oh, what the fuck? I have to read documents? But the real thing is you don't actually. You really don't, as long as you suck the right person's dick. That's good. Speaking of sucking dick, a lot of drama here in with the Dodgers. The Dodgers sale has kind of become a whole, not the Dodgers sale, the Lakers sale, but it's tied in. The owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and sports fans, this one is interesting, and politics fans, this one is tied in. Gentleman bought the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's also the owner of the Dodgers, and he was going to fuse them together, kind of share some organizational know-how between the two. Dodgers, of course, the team that is cheating as well as ruining baseball, as well as ruining how Shohei Ohtani could be fun, but is not because he's on the Death Star. So the Lakers were bought and then immediately sold. This is not something that happens. People don't usually buy one of the marquee franchises in pro sports and then sell it immediately. Now, what immediately raised eyebrows was it was sold to Bob Iger, former CEO of Disney, and Jared Kushner's brother. Interesting. Right after a Dodgers visit to the White House and the Trump administration's DOJ looking into the Dodgers owners' businesses. People were a little like, hey, is it possible that there's a little pressure on this because we found some shit? So if you're going to sell it to Bob Iger, who Trump knows, and the Kushner brother. Is this possible? Is this possible? We don't, there's smoke fire, but we don't have that smoking gun. But what it has allowed people to do is look into what's going on with the Dodgers. And this, to me, is the more interesting story, because this shows how things are run at the highest levels of sports, government, companies, everything. So here's a little tweet from Jake Econompic. How do the Dodgers carry an unlimited payroll? Filings uncovered tired by Nick Nemo 17 show roughly $1.47 billion in debt for American Media Productions, the entity behind Sportsnet LA, and the Dodgers' 25-year, $8.35 billion charter deal sitting on the balance sheet of 5 life insurance companies tied to or controlled by the Dodgers' own ownership group. Example, the Dodgers get a sweetheart deal on their TV rights from a media company their owners co-own, financed by the insurance companies those same owners control. Because ownership sits on both sides as borrower and lender, the setup functions as a closed loop. When RSNs hit turbulence, banks enforced covenants or forced restructuring. Here the lenders are insurers the owners manage, so the capital stays patient and cash flow to the team never gets choked. MLB taxes net local revenue at 34%, but allows deductions for debt service and interest tied to running the network. Carrying $1.45 billion in media debt on AMP's balance sheet generates interest expense that shrinks reportable net TV income and the resulting revenue sharing bill. Then there's the payroll itself. I heard this part there's maybe some inaccuracy here, so grain of salt. The payroll itself, over $1 billion is deferred, owing 9 to players through 2047, or owed to 9 players through 2047. Pushing that cash out frees up money today, some of which is going towards servicing that same debt, and kicks the actual bill to a stretch of decades many of today's owners won't be around for, plus, of course, interest. LA built a seemingly illegal structure that captures its own interest yield, shelters TV income from league revenue sharing, and helps fund payroll dominance in the process. So that's why he's being investigated. That's why the Dodgers feel like they're playing a different sport than everybody else. And that's how shit works when you have media conglomerates tying up and shaking each other's hands and giving each other different deals in white-collar crimes. Now, white-collar crimes, does that sound like something that's going up in the country at large? And is it going to affect everything that we pay attention to if we're realizing that it's taking over sports, if we're realizing that it's taking over media, if we're realizing that the extreme wealth being created by certain AI companies, whether or not that's a bubble or not, is all centralizing into one place with an open government that allows it to buy off the interests of the entire government, so it's not actually representing the interests of the people, then you realize how all of this dovetails into a scary situation, which you can easily be distracted from if you are focused specifically on the convenient narratives that people want to tell you that are not really tied into these boring back-end facts and data. Do you see how it all comes together? Well, if you don't, on Friday afternoon, a regulator Donald Trump appointed approved a bank Donald Trump's family owns to issue a coin that makes Donald Trump money under a law Donald Trump signed. First time in American history, dropped at 4 p.m. on a Friday because they were counting on you not looking. Here's what they buried. The OCC, run by Trump appointee Jonathan Gould, granted World Liberty Trust a national trust bank charter. World Liberty is 38% owned by an entity affiliated with Donald J. Trump and certain of his family members. That's not framing of the guy tweeting. That's on their website. It's just a trust charter. It can't take deposits. Well, that's what some say, but it doesn't need to. That's not the business. The business is USD1, their stablecoin. You hand them $1, they park it in treasuries. They keep the interest, and under the Genius Act signed by Trump, in July of 2025, they're legally barred from passing that interest to you. All house money. Friday's charter lets them cut out their middleman and run issuance, custody, and reserves in-house, fatter margins, federal seal, institutional clients. Now we ask where the dollars come from. A state-backed Abu Dhabi fund settled a $2 billion investment into Binance using USD1. World Liberty told Congress the deal likely would have used foreign currency if USD1 hadn't existed, meaning it was routed through the president's balance sheet on purpose. As of February, Binance held 87% of every USD1 in existence, and Binance's founder was pardoned by Donald Trump. Line it up. He signed the law that built the market. He appointed the regulator. The regulator approved his family's bank. The bank prints the coin that pays him. A foreign government pumped $2 billion into it. It sits on an exchange whose founder was pardoned by him. The bank's board is chaired by the son of his Middle East envoy. Folks, this is just where we are at. We can go ahead and throw one more in here. This just in, Donald Trump was asked how his son Barron's net worth increased $150 million in 1 year, and he said it's, quote, none of your business. So, we tie it all together. The country is getting dumber. The conversations we are having are getting dumber. We are staffing everything with culture war idiots like Pete Hegseth, who say what really matters is that we give testosterone shots out to the military, while we discount the reports of own military members saying that they were in unsanitary conditions on a ship and that many of them tried to end their lives because it was the longest time an Air Force or an aircraft carrier had ever been deployed without a crew call. Okay. So you are being distracted. You are being fed narratives that work as part of an entire media ecosystem that's been built up to make them dumber and dumber and dumber. Meanwhile, the people at the top are looting everything, enriching themselves at your behest. They are in bed with the businesses that are, in fact, going back in and supporting them. And we're all getting fucked, and it includes our national pastime, the sports that you want to watch, the media companies that you want to consume, be that the Paramount deal run by the Ellison kid, or be it, fine, fuck the legacy media, I'm on TikTok, also owned by Larry Ellison. Here's the problem. Aside from everything I just said being a huge problem, and I'm sorry this episode didn't end up being that fun, but these are themes that tie together that we have to discuss. They will tell you what's coming next is that you need to fear communism. Communism is the new pivot. Communism is the boogeyman. Communism is coming from the left. Now, I am not a communist person, okay? I think capitalism does work better, but not when it's run this way. Not when it's run with the government getting in bed with all of the companies and cutting sweetheart deals for everybody and making the entire thing a family, crony capitalism, oligarchy, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That is not capitalism. In fact, it is what will bring you communism because it will cause people to reject the system when they say it's getting this bad. So if you don't want the country going down that path, it is your duty as an American citizen to demand a competent government with real oversight over special interests and the burgeoning AI companies that are putting all of us at extreme risk in certain ways. Capitalism in the long run actually relies on competent government to set the conditions for fair competition. If you don't have that, you have this. And if you have this, you end up with nothing. Okay? Class is dismissed for today. I'm sorry for it. Was, when I don't plan it out, we just end up doing broad-based tweak outs on things that I've seen online for the week. And I was supposed to have Chris O'Connor on to talk about season 3 of Tires, which is out now. Please watch it, but his schedule got fucked up. But he's actor, writer on the show. I thought season 3 was fantastic. Give it a watch. Check it out. He's going to come on next month, which will be great. But yeah, check it out. JoeyAvery.com. Patreon.com/Joey Avery. If you want an extra episode of the show this week, that'll be what's happening over there. Otherwise, yeah, come out and see me on tour, JoeyAvery.com. Check out my special, Joey Avery Live in San Francisco. And it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Look, we pay attention to the problems in the world, but it's not a problem? Vibing. Get out there and have a good time. Touch some grass. Smoke some grass, unless you're in Texas, in which case they'll throw you in jail along with women who had miscarriages.